This monster shouldn't exist. According to every law of physics we know, the universe simply couldn't have created anything like this. But it exists, and it's staring at us from the darkness of the Canes Venatici constellation. Picture an object so massive that it weighs more than our entire giant Milky Way Galaxy combined with all its stars, planets, and nebulae. 66 billion suns compressed into one black abyss. If we placed it in the center of our solar system, it wouldn't just swallow the sun. It would swallow Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and even distant Pluto, and we wouldn't even have time to realize what happened. We call it TON 618. This isn't just a black hole. It is the king of all black holes. An absolute predator that single-handedly ate its own galaxy and now reigns in the void. Scientists still cannot understand how it grew to such a size, because it would have needed more time than the age of the universe itself. It breaks our science. It forces us to question the Big Bang Theory. And the scariest part, it shows us what the finale of all living things will look like. Today, we are going on a journey 10 billion light-years away, into the very heart of darkness. We will find out what lies beyond its event horizon, why time stops forever next to it, and whether it's true that we might already be living inside a giant just like it. Buckle up. We are beginning our dive into an ultra-massive anomaly. Welcome to the belly of the ultra-massive black hole. To realize what we are dealing with, we first need to discard everything we knew about household black holes. We've heard about them in movies like Interstellar, but Gargantua from the movie is a dwarf, a grain of sand compared to TON 618. And to understand how we found this object at all, we need to travel back to the past, to the middle of the 20th century. At that time, astronomy was experiencing its golden age. We were just beginning to open our eyes to the true scale of the universe. In 1957, in Mexico, at the Tonantzintla Observatory, astronomers were doing what seemed like routine work. They were photographing the sky, trying to catalog stars. They used special photographic plates sensitive to the blue spectrum and ultraviolet light. Their task was to find young, hot stars in our galaxy, white dwarfs. And then, on some of the images, they noticed strange dots. These were objects that glowed very brightly, but looked like ordinary stars. They were assigned serial numbers in the observatory's catalog. That's how the name TON appeared, short for Tonantzintla. And under number 618, one of these blue objects was recorded. No one back then could even imagine what exactly had fallen into the telescope's lens. Scientists thought it was a faint, dying star somewhere on the outskirts of the Milky Way. Possibly a white dwarf. But years passed. In the 60s and 70s, the era of radio astronomy began. We started listening to space. And it turned out that some of these blue stars were powerful sources of radio emissions. This was strange. Ordinary stars shouldn't broadcast like that. Astronomers called these objects quasars, short for quasi-stellar radio source. It meant, it looks like a star, but it doesn't act like a star. And then, in 1970, astronomers decided to study the spectrum of light coming from TON 618. Spectral analysis is like fingerprints for stars. It can tell what an object consists of and, most importantly, how fast it is moving. The results were shocking. The lines in the spectrum were shifted to the red side so strongly that it could mean only one thing. The object is moving away from us at a monstrous speed. And in our universe, which is expanding, the speed of recession is directly proportional to distance. The faster something flies away from us, the farther away it is. When scientists recalculated the data, their jaws dropped. It turned out that TON 618 is not in our galaxy. And not even in a neighboring one. It is located at a distance of more than 10 billion light-years. Just think about that. The light we see now left that place when our Earth didn't exist yet, when our Sun didn't exist. The universe was only 3.5 billion years old then. It was a very young, turbulent world. But here, a paradox arose. If this object is inconceivably far away, why do we see it through an ordinary telescope as a bright star? For us to see it from such a distance, it shouldn't glow like a star. It must glow brighter than an entire galaxy, brighter than 100 galaxies put together. Calculations showed that the luminosity of TON 618 is 140 trillion times the luminosity of the Sun. Try to imagine 140 trillion light bulbs. No, that's impossible. Let's put it another way. If TON 618 were placed where the North Star is, night would never fall on Earth. It would shine as brightly as the full moon, even while being hundreds of light-years away from us. And here we come to the main mystery. Where does so much energy come from? No thermonuclear reaction in stars is capable of producing such power. The only mechanism in the universe capable of this is matter falling into a black hole. A quasar is not the black hole itself. Black holes, as we know, do not glow. A quasar is the death scream of matter. Gas, dust, planets, and entire stars, getting caught in the gravitational grip of the monster, begin to swirl around it, forming an accretion disk. It's like water going down a bathtub drain, only instead of water, it's superheated plasma, and instead of a drain, it's a bottomless abyss. In this disk, matter accelerates to speeds close to the speed of light. Due to friction, the substance heats up to millions of degrees. It turns into pure energy, into light, into radiation. It is this radiance that we see across the entire universe. That is, when astronomers looked at TON 618, they didn't see a star. They saw a giant cosmic lunch. Something was devouring the surrounding space with such fury that the light from this feast eclipsed the light of all the stars in its parent galaxy. But to create an accretion disk of such power, the black hole itself in the center must be simply incredibly large. Scientists started calculating the mass, and when the calculator gave the result, they thought it was a mistake. They recalculated again, and again, and again. But the numbers didn't lie. The mass of TON 618 is 66 billion times the mass of the Sun. 66 billion. Let's try to grasp this number, because simply hearing it isn't enough. Take our Sun. It is a huge ball. 1 million planets like Earth could fit inside it. Now imagine 66 billion such suns. If we wanted to pile them up, that pile would weigh as much as our entire Milky Way Galaxy, combined with all its stars, planets, nebulae, and cosmic dust. That is, this single object weighs more than our giant galaxy. This is not just a supermassive black hole. It is a class of objects for which a new term had to be invented: ultramassive black holes. And here we come to the first critical point of our story: the size of this beast. We are used to measuring black holes by their event horizon. The event horizon is that invisible line, the point of no return. If you cross it, even light cannot return. For our Sun, if it became a black hole, this radius would be only 3 kilometers, a small ball you could walk around in an hour. For the black hole in the center of our galaxy, Sagittarius A star, the radius is 24 million kilometers. That's less than the distance from Mercury to the Sun. Impressive, but imaginable. But what is the size of TON 618? Its radius is 1,300 astronomical units. 1 astronomical unit is the distance from Earth to the Sun. Pluto, the farthest planet of the classical system, is 40 astronomical units away from us. Voyager 1, the most distant man-made object that has been flying for almost half a century, has flown away only 160 astronomical units, and the radius of TON 618 is 1,300. The diameter of this monster is 390 billion kilometers. If you decided to fly through it in a plane, it would take you millions of years. Even light, the fastest messenger in the universe, needs several weeks just to cross this shadow from edge to edge. It is a true abyss, a void of such scale that you could hide our entire solar system inside it, and it would get lost there like a coin thrown into the Pacific Ocean. It would fly inside the black hole for weeks before reaching the singularity in the center. And this is where the brain starts to resist. We can accept the existence of something big, but the existence of something that big seems unnatural. And it's not just about our feelings. It's about math. It's about how black holes grow at all. A black hole is not born a giant. It begins its journey as a star. The star dies, collapses, and a small black hole appears with a mass of 10, 20, maybe 100 suns. To become a monster like TON 618, it needs to eat a lot. It needs to absorb gas, dust, other stars. But the process of eating has its limitations. Physics sets a hard limit on how fast a black hole can gain weight. This limit is called the Eddington limit. The logic is simple. When matter falls into a hole, it heats up and starts to glow. This light, this radiation, creates pressure. Imagine trying to pour water into a funnel, but a powerful stream of air is blowing out of the funnel. The air will push the water back, preventing it from falling. The same thing happens with a black hole. If it eats too greedily, the light from its lunch becomes so bright that it blows the rest of the food away. The black hole goes on a forced diet. It chokes on its own light. Based on this limit, scientists calculated how long it takes for a black hole to grow from the size of a star to the size of TON 618. And the answer scared them. Even if this hole ate without breaks for lunch and sleep, even if it was always in ideal conditions, it would need more time than the age of the universe itself at that moment. I remind you, we see TON 618 as it was when the universe was only 3.5 billion years old. It simply didn't have the time to get that fat. It's like meeting a 3-year-old child who weighs as much as an adult elephant and knows the entire encyclopedia by heart. It's impossible. Somewhere in our calculations, there is a fundamental hole. Either we don't understand how black holes are born, or we don't understand how they grow. Or, what is most terrifying, something was happening in the early universe that we don't even suspect. Something that allowed the laws of physics to be broken and titans to be created in mere moments. Astronomers call this the seed problem. What served as the seed for this giant? An ordinary star won't do here. Too slow. That means the seed must have been huge right away. But where would a huge black hole come from if even the first galaxies hadn't had time to form before it? Maybe they were born not from stars? Maybe they were born from the darkness itself? There is a theory that gives you goosebumps, the direct collapse theory. Imagine a giant cloud of gas. Not just a cloud, but a cloud the size of a galaxy. Under normal conditions, it should break into pieces, from which thousands of stars will ignite. But if conditions align in a very specific, incredibly rare way, if the gas is very pure, if another bright galaxy shines nearby preventing it from cooling down, then this cloud will not break into stars. It will begin to collapse as a whole. Millions, billions of solar masses will collapse into one point simultaneously. Without the star stage, without a supernova explosion, just a giant, silent pop. And in the void, a black hole of monstrous mass is instantly born. If this is true, then TON 618 is not just a grown-up star. It is a relic. It is a scar on the body of space-time, left from those times when the universe was still hot and dense. It is a witness to an era we can only guess about. But let's leave the past and return to the object itself. What does it mean to be near it? What will you see if your ship comes out of hyperspace in its vicinity? First, you will go blind. The light of the accretion disk is so bright that it will burn out your eyes in a fraction of a second if you don't turn on the filters. This disk doesn't just glow white. It shines with all colors, from hard X-rays to radio waves. It is a tornado of fire spinning at a speed of 7,000 kilometers per second. But if you look into the very center of this storm, you will see it. The shadow. A perfect black circle surrounded by a halo of light. This is the event horizon, the boundary of reality, the place where time stops and space twists into a knot. Compared to this disk, our Earth isn't even an atom. It is nothing. You will feel like a grain of sand hanging over the mouth of a volcano the size of half the world. And here the most interesting part begins. Black holes of this size possess one strange property that contradicts our intuition. We are used to thinking that a black hole is a meat grinder that will tear you apart even on the approach. This is true for small holes. There, tidal forces are so great that if you fly towards it feet first, gravity will pull your feet millions of times stronger than your head. You will be stretched into a noodle even before you touch the horizon. This process is even officially called spaghettification. But TON 618 is different. It is so huge that its event horizon is very far from the central point, from the singularity. Gravity there is monstrous, yes, but it changes very smoothly. Tidal forces at the horizon of this giant are practically imperceptible to a human. This means you can cross the line of no return and feel nothing. You will be alive. Your ship will be intact. You can drink coffee, look at the instruments, and not even notice that you are already dead to the rest of the world. You will pass through the mirror, but the mirror won't break. You will find yourself inside. And here arises a question that haunts the best minds of humanity. What will you see in there, inside? What is behind the curtain? Classical physics says, there is darkness and a path to nowhere. A path to the center, where you will eventually be crushed into a point. But TON 618 is so vast that its inner world might be arranged much more complexly. What if hidden inside is not death, but something else? What if the mass and energy that fell there over billions of years created a new structure? Some physicists put forward insane hypotheses. They say that ultramassive black holes could be portals, or even nesting dolls inside which other universes are located. Imagine that our Big Bang was the moment of the birth of just such a black hole in some other, higher reality. And we are currently living inside the event horizon of some giant, without even suspecting it. If so, then TON 618 is not a killer. It is a maternity ward for a new world. But let's not jump to conclusions. For now, we are standing outside. We have only touched the surface of this mystery. Ahead of us awaits an even more frightening truth. The truth about what happens to time next to this abyss, and about why monsters like TON 618 might ultimately doom the entire universe, turning it into a cold, dark graveyard. To understand this, we need to look at how this giant affects everything around itself. Because its gravity is not just a vacuum cleaner, it is a conductor's baton that controls the dance of billions of stars. And sometimes this dance ends in death. Now, let's talk about time. Albert Einstein taught us that gravity is not just a force that pulls apples to the ground. Gravity is the curvature of space and time. And the heavier the object, the more strongly it bends the fabric of reality beneath itself. Near Earth, this effect is negligible. Our GPS satellites run fast by only a few microseconds a day compared to clocks on the surface. But next to a monster like Ton 618, time behaves not like a river, but like a freezing waterfall. Imagine you stayed on the ship at a safe distance, and your partner in a spacesuit went to the event horizon. You will watch him through a telescope. At first, everything will go as usual. He will wave his hand at you. His beacon will flash once a second. But as he approaches this black abyss, strange things will begin. You will notice his movements slowing down. His hand will rise slower and slower, as if he is swimming in thick syrup. The flashes of his beacon will become rare. Once a minute, once an hour, once a year. At some point, he will simply freeze. For you, the external observer, he will never cross the horizon. He will remain hanging there forever, walled up in time like a fly in amber. His image will become redder and dimmer until it disappears completely in the infrared range. This is called gravitational redshift. The last photon of light emitted by his suit before falling will climb out of the gravity well for an infinitely long time. But for the partner himself, everything will be different. And this is the creepiest part. He will not feel any slowdown. His watch will tick as usual. His heart will beat in the familiar rhythm. He will cross the event horizon in a matter of moments. But if at that moment he turns back and looks at the universe he is leaving, he will see the end of the world. Since time outside flies for him at a breakneck speed, he will see stars being born, aging, and exploding in seconds. He will see galaxies colliding and merging in a single dance. He will see the future of the universe in fast forward. The entire history of the world will flash before his eyes in one last breath before the darkness swallows him completely. Ton 618 is a time machine that has only a forward button, and this button is held down forever. But let's return to our reality. We are still alive and looking at this monster from the side. And what we see is not just a hole, it is the quintessence of power. Ton 618 is not just a fat black hole. It is a quasar, and this word is key here. An ordinary black hole can be quiet and invisible if it has nothing to eat. It sleeps, but our hero does not sleep. He is greedy. An accretion disk of superheated gas rotates around him. And this disk is not just a flat ring like Saturn's. Because of the incredible gravity, light bends around the hole so that we see the back of the disk from above and the bottom from below. This creates a fiery halo around the black sphere, resembling the eye of the devil himself. The temperature in this disk reaches trillions of degrees. For comparison, in the center of our sun, it is only 15 million degrees. There, in the disk, matter grinds against itself with such force that atoms fall apart. Electrons are torn from orbits. Nuclei collide. This plasma soup generates magnetic fields of such power that we cannot reproduce them in any laboratory. And these magnetic fields do something amazing. They don't let all the matter fall inside. They pick up part of the substance, twist it into a spiral, and shoot it away from the poles of the black hole. This is called a relativistic jet. Imagine a laser beam hundreds of light years thick. This beam consists of particles flying at 99.9% of the speed of light. It is a cosmic flamethrower. It pierces the galaxy through and goes far into intergalactic space. The length of such a jet can reach hundreds of thousands of light years. That's bigger than the size of our entire Milky Way. If a jet like the one from Ton 618 were aimed in our direction, even from a distance of millions of light years, it could sterilize Earth. Hard X-ray and gamma radiation would burn the ozone layer, destroy the atmosphere, and kill all living things. We must thank fate that this muzzle is not looking at us. But this power has a reverse, tragic side. And this brings us to the second critical point: the history of the victim. We talk a lot about the black hole itself, but where is it located? Where is its home? After all, black holes don't hang in a void. They live in the centers of galaxies. Every self-respecting galaxy has a core. We have Sagittarius A. Andromeda has its own hole. This means TON 618 also has a host galaxy. But why don't we see it? Look at the photos of this quasar. You will see only a bright, blinding dot. Where are the spiral arms? Where are the billions of stars around it? The truth is that this black hole is a killer. It killed its own home. TON 618 shines so brightly that it completely eclipses the light of all the stars in its galaxy. Imagine shining a powerful spotlight directly into the face of a person holding a candle. You won't see the candle. You will see only the spotlight. The galaxy is there, but it is invisible to us because of the radiance of the quasar. This is what is called an active galaxy. But invisible doesn't mean okay. Quasar radiation isn't just light, it is pressure. This monstrous heat heats up all the gas in the galaxy, and stars, as we know, are born only from cold gas. Gas must cool down, compress under its own weight, and ignite. But TON 618 doesn't let it cool down. It keeps the entire galaxy in a state of constant boiling. This means that new stars are no longer born in this galaxy. It is dead. Old stars are burning out their time, and new ones are not coming to replace them. The black hole sterilized its home. It blew out all the building material with its jets and heated the rest to millions of degrees. It is a zombie galaxy. It still exists, it still rotates, but there is no life in it anymore. And the heart that beats too hard is to blame for this. Scientists call this feedback. A black hole regulates the growth of a galaxy. But in the case of TON 618, the regulator broke. It is turned up to the maximum. Let's try to imagine what it would be like to live on a planet in such a galaxy. Suppose somewhere on the very edge, where the deadly jets don't reach, a star survived, and a planet revolves around it. What sky do its inhabitants see? They have no night. Never. During the day, their native sun shines, and when it sets, it rises. The eye, a bright, evil, violet-white disk taking up half the sky. It shines brighter than 1,000 full moons. It casts sharp shadows. It hurts to look at it. The radiation background on this planet would be so high that life, if it arose there, would have to hide deep underground or under the thickness of the ocean. It is a world of eternal, toxic light. And in this light, there is sound. Of course, we know that sound does not propagate in a vacuum, but an accretion disk is not a vacuum. It is a dense cloud of gas, and pressure waves go through it. That is sound. The black hole sings. In 2003, astronomers from NASA were able to hear a black hole in the Perseus cluster. They translated the pressure waves into sound accessible to our ear. It was a B-flat note, but it sounded 57 octaves lower than the middle of a piano keyboard. This is the lowest note ever recorded in the universe. For a human to hear it, the period of oscillation of one sound wave would have to be 10 million years. TON 618 also makes a sound, but considering its mass, this sound is even lower, even deeper. It is a hum that shakes the fabric of existence itself. This low-frequency hum propagates through the gas of the intergalactic medium, heating it and preventing it from cooling down. It is a song of death that sounds for millions of light-years around. We are approaching the equator of our story. We realize that this object violates the laws of growth. We realize that it controls time. We realize that it kills galaxies. But the main question remains, which scares scientists the most. Is this really the limit? Could there be something bigger than TON 618? Or is 66 billion solar masses the final point, the ceiling above which nature cannot jump? For a long time, we thought that yes, there is a limit. But recently, we found indirect clues pointing to the existence of another class of monsters. Their name is SLAB, stupendously large black holes. These are hypothetical objects whose mass can reach 100 billion and even a trillion solar masses. If TON 618 is Everest among mountains, then a SLAB is a mountain whose peak touches the moon. Where did we get the idea of their existence? It's all about the structure of the universe itself. We see that galaxies gather into clusters, and clusters into superclusters. In the center of every galaxy sits a supermassive hole. It is logical to assume that in the center of a supercluster, at the point of gravitational equilibrium, the daddy of all black holes might sit. An object that was born even before the first stars. TON 618 might not be the biggest. It might simply be the brightest of those we see. Possibly, right now, in the darkness of voids where there is no glowing gas, invisible titans are drifting, next to which our hero will seem like a dwarf. And we cannot see them because they have already eaten everything around them and turned off the light. They have become ideal predators, invisible and silent. But even the visible TON 618 poses a question to us that makes us uncomfortable. We are looking at it in the past. The light traveled to us for 10 billion years. We see its baby photo. But what is up with it now? In our present? 10 billion years have passed. It didn't stop eating. It continued to absorb gas, stars, dark matter. What is it like now? Maybe it doubled its mass? Maybe it merged with another black hole and became even more monstrous? There is a possibility that now, in real time, it has already eaten its entire galaxy. The accretion disk went out because the fuel ran out. The quasar turned off, and in its place remained simply an abyss with the mass of hundreds of billions of suns drifting in the dark. Huge, hungry, and invisible. And this leads us to the thought of the fate of the entire cosmos. Black holes are the final station for matter. Everything that fell inside will never return to the cycle of substance. Stars give birth to elements, carbon, oxygen, iron. They explode and gift these elements to new stars and planets. This is the cycle of life. But a black hole is a dead end. It takes and gives nothing back. TON 618 is the gravedigger of the universe. It shows us our distant future, the black hole era. A time when all stars will go out, all galaxies will disintegrate, and only ones like him will remain. Huge monsters devouring the last crumbs of light until they are left alone in absolute emptiness. But don't rush to fall into depression. Physics has a surprise for us. There is one mechanism that can change everything. A mechanism that turns a black hole from a killer into a creator. And it is connected with information. Have you heard about Stephen Hawking's information paradox? Hawking proved that black holes are not eternal. They evaporate. Very, very slowly, they lose mass in the form of Hawking radiation. For TON 618 to evaporate completely, it will take a time designated by a 1 with 100 zeros of years, a Google years. It is unimaginably long, but it means they are mortal. But here is the problem. Quantum mechanics says that information cannot disappear without a trace. If you burn a book, you can theoretically restore the text from the ash and smoke if you know the movement of every molecule. But if a book falls into a black hole, and then the black hole evaporates, where did the text of the book go? Was it erased? If so, then all our physics is wrong. And here we come to the craziest and most beautiful theory that can explain the existence of TON 618, the holographic universe. Some scientists believe that what falls inside does not disappear. It is recorded on the surface of the event horizon, like data on a hard drive. TON 618 is not a vacuum cleaner. It is a giant library. It is the largest hard drive in the universe. Imagine that all matter, all stars, all civilizations that it absorbed over 10 billion years. All this is saved in the form of a 2D code on its border. And, possibly, our three-dimensional world is just a hologram, a projection of this information. We think we live in a voluminous world, but in reality, we are just bits of data on the sphere of a black hole. This sounds like the ravings of a madman, but mathematically it adds up. The formulas for the entropy of black holes are surprisingly similar to the formulas describing information. If this is so, then TON 618 is the most complex object in the universe. It contains more memory than all Earth's computers multiplied by 1 trillion. And now, standing at the equator of our journey, let's ask ourselves a question. What if we can use this? Imagine a Type 3 civilization on the Kardashev scale. A civilization that has subdued the energy of an entire galaxy. Why would they build Dyson spheres around stars if they have TON 618 by their side? Its accretion disk is a source of infinite energy. The rotation of the black hole is a giant flywheel from which energy can be pumped using the Penrose process. You throw garbage into the hole along a certain trajectory, and the hole spits it back out with acceleration, giving away part of its rotational energy. Around such a monster, you can build a civilization that will live forever. They can live on artificial rings built at a safe distance. The light of the accretion disk will give them heat and energy. Time dilation will allow them to survive the death of the rest of the universe. While trillions of years pass in the rest of the world, stars go out and matter decays. For them, at the horizon, only centuries pass. TON 618 could become the last refuge of life in a dying universe, an ark drifting at the end of time. But there is one but, one small but deadly but: radiation. We already talked about jets, but even without them, the level of radiation around a quasar is such that any biological life known to us would end there in nanoseconds. DNA would simply crumble. To live there, you need to be not of flesh and blood. You need to be either a machine or a clot of pure energy. So, perhaps, we don't see aliens not because they don't exist, but because advanced civilizations go where there is maximum energy, to black holes. They become digital gods living on the edge of eternity, and they are simply not interested in communicating with ants like us, living in the cold wilderness of a galactic arm. We look at TON 618 as a frightening anomaly, but for someone, it is perhaps a beloved home, a hearth where the last minds of the universe warm themselves. And now, let's take a deep breath. We've reached the middle. We learned about its size, its origin, time, and how it kills galaxies. But ahead of us awaits the darkest part. We must talk about exactly how it eats, and what happens if you fall into it not in a spacesuit, but together with the entire Earth. Because there are rogue black holes in space, and although TON 618 sits in place, its younger brothers might be closer than we think. And one more thing. We forgot to mention one detail, a detail that concerns our Milky Way. We think we are safe, but some calculations show that in our future, a meeting with something similar awaits us. After all, we are merging with Andromeda, and the merger of two galaxies is the best way to wake a sleeping dragon and turn our quiet harbor into a blazing quasar. Are you ready to find out how our galaxy will die? Then let's move on to the next chapter of our immersion. We are used to looking at the Milky Way as a safe home. Quiet stellar arms, calm rotation. In the center of our galaxy sits Sagittarius A star. It is a supermassive black hole, but compared to TON 618, it is a tiny, sleepy dwarf. Its mass is only 4 million suns. It hardly glows because it has nothing to eat. It finished eating all the gas in the vicinity millions of years ago and is now dozing. But TON 618 shows us what happens when a monster wakes up. And, unfortunately, we have a date for the awakening of our own monster. In 4.5 billion years, roughly when our sun begins to die, the most grandiose and frightening show in history will unfold in the night sky of Earth, if Earth still exists. The Andromeda Galaxy, which is currently flying towards us at a speed of 110 kilometers per second, will crash into the Milky Way. This won't be a head-on collision of solid bodies. The stars are too far apart. They will fly past each other. But giant clouds of gas will collide. This collision will deprive them of rotational speed, and millions of tons of gas and dust will flow to the center of the newborn combined galaxy, to where two black holes will meet, ours and Andromeda's. They will begin a dance of death. Merging, they will stir up space so that gravitational waves will ripple through the entire universe. And when they connect, a tsunami of fresh fuel will crash down on them. Sagittarius A will wake up. A new quasar will flare up. Of course, it won't be as gigantic as TON 618, but for the inhabitants of the future galaxy, which scientists jokingly call Milkomeda, it will be a catastrophe. The center of the galaxy will become a death zone. Powerful jets will pierce the arms, burning everything in their path. A new Eye of Sauron will shine in the sky, eclipsing the stars. We will repeat the fate of that unfortunate galaxy in which our hero today lives. History is cyclical, and TON 618 is a mirror in which we see our possible finale. But let's distract ourselves from the apocalypse and return to the most amazing property of this giant: its loneliness. Scientists ask the question, why is it so big? There is a rule that works almost everywhere. A black hole grows together with its galaxy. Usually, the mass of the hole is about 0.5% of the mass of all the stars in the center of the galaxy. But TON 618 breaks this proportion. It is too big for any home. This suggests that it is a galaxy eater in the literal sense. Perhaps it ate not one, but 10 or 20 galaxies, colliding with them at the dawn of time. It is an absolute predator, a cannibal king, and now it reigns in the void that it created itself. Around it, most likely, is a giant elliptical galaxy, but it is so dim and sparse compared to it that we simply don't see it. We see only the grin of the Cheshire Cat, but not the cat itself. And this is scary, because this means that naked, ultramassive black holes may exist in the universe. Monsters thrown out of their galaxies during collisions. They fly in the intergalactic darkness, invisible, without accretion disks, without light. They can only be detected if they fly against the background of another galaxy and distort its light with their gravity. How many of them are there? Maybe one such invisible giant is flying past the local group of galaxies right now, and we don't even know about it? But let's dig even deeper, into the very essence of reality. Remember I talked about the holographic universe? TON 618 poses a question to us. What exactly is inside? We are used to thinking that a black hole is a ball inside our space. But mathematics says that the volume inside a black hole can be infinite. When space-time bends so much, the concepts of bigger and smaller lose meaning. Inside TON 618, a space might be hidden that for an internal observer would look like an infinitely expanding universe. There is a theory called cosmological natural selection. It was proposed by physicist Lee Smolin. It states that every black hole gives birth to a new universe inside itself, and the physical laws in this new universe differ slightly from the parent ones. If this is so, then TON 618 is not a killer. It is a womb. It carries a new world inside itself, and the bigger the black hole, the more complex and rich this inner world can be. Perhaps there, beyond the horizon, stars are burning right now. There are planets, and someone is sitting and watching a video about black holes, not suspecting that their entire sky is the insides of a monster. And the most mind-blowing thing about this theory is that our own universe might also be the womb of a black hole. Calculate the mass of the entire visible universe and its radius. Surprisingly, these numbers satisfy the Schwarzschild condition. We live inside a black hole, and what we call the Big Bang was the moment of a star's collapse in that higher reality. We are all connected, from the smallest atom to TON 618. We are part of an infinite fractal nesting doll of worlds. But let's return to physical death. Nothing is eternal, even TON 618. Yes, it will outlive the stars. In 100 trillion years, the last red dwarfs will go out. The universe will plunge into darkness. Galaxies will disintegrate. Only black holes and the cooling corpses of neutron stars will remain. This will be the black hole era, and TON 618 will be the king of this era. It will reign in the void for an unimaginably long time. But Hawking radiation will slowly, atom by atom, gnaw away mass from it. It will lose weight, and the smaller it gets, the hotter it will be. At the very end of its life, after a Google years, that's a 1 with 100 zeros, it will cease to be black. It will flash with white light. It will begin to radiate energy at a frantic speed. And in the finale, an explosion will occur. The last breath of the greatest giant. An explosion that will illuminate the empty, dead universe for the last time. After that, nothing will remain. Only rare photons flying nowhere and eternal cold. TON 618 is the last lighthouse of our world. The last candle that entropy will blow out. Therefore, when we look at it today, we should feel not only fear, but also awe. It is the keeper of our history. It is the grave digger of galaxies. And it is also a possible door to other worlds. We are humans. We are small. We live on a tiny rocky ball around an average star. Our age is short, but our mind is capable of reaching out across 10 billion light-years, weighing this monster, understanding its nature, and even predicting its death. And there is something great in this. We are the way the universe knows itself. And objects like TON 618 are needed for us to understand our true scale, so that we stop quarreling over borders on a map and realize that we are all floating in the same boat in the middle of an infinite, beautiful, and terrible ocean. This object is a reminder of how much we still don't know. We have only begun to open our eyes. We have only taken the first step out of the cradle. And who knows what other monsters are hiding there, in the zone of avoidance, where our telescopes have not yet been able to look. Perhaps TON 618 is not the biggest object. There are hints of the existence of structures that pull entire superclusters of galaxies towards themselves like a vacuum cleaner. We call one of these anomalies the Great Attractor. We are flying towards it right now. We are being pulled there with incredible force, but we don't see what exactly is there, because it is hidden behind the dense band of the Milky Way. What if the Great Attractor is a black hole the size of 1 trillion suns? Or is it an error in the very fabric of space? Or is there something there that doesn't fit into the laws of physics at all? About what awaits us at that point where all the galaxies of our sector are flowing, and why scientists fear the day when we learn the truth, I told in this video. Be sure to click on it right now, because, believe me, the story of TON 618 is just the beginning. The real abyss is still ahead. Thank you for being with us on this journey to the end of the night. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next leap into the unknown. See you soon.